Hi there and welcome to another Tri-tutors video. In today's video we're going to be looking at simple, compound and complex sentences. This is a topic that falls under the section in language, but it doesn't always have to be tested just in the language part of your paper. It can come up in comprehension questions or even visual literacy questions such as advertising when you're asked about the verbal techniques. It's also important to know when you're writing your own essay so that you can understand how to use sentence structure effectively, because every type of sentence has a different effect. So firstly, our simple sentence. Our simple sentence, you can remember it as having one finite verb or one main clause. A finite verb is a verb that has tense, number and subject. So it's one of those main verbs. So my advice is when you are figuring out what type of sentence it is, always go ahead and circle your finite verbs. If you see that there's only one finite verb, then it's probably going to be a simple sentence. So here's an example. Liverpool won the Premier League in 2020. We have won as our finite verb. This is just one main clause. There aren't any commas, there aren't any other clauses going on. This is just a simple sentence. Now, something that you need to keep in mind is that a simple sentence does not necessarily mean a short sentence. Often it tends to be, but this is the way that markers or teachers can often trick students, is that they give you a really long sentence. Maybe there's a lot of listing involved and they ask you what type of sentence it is, and students will automatically assume it's compound or complex based on the length. But if you look deeper, there's actually only one finite verb. So be wary of that and understand that a simple sentence is not necessarily a short sentence. Now, in terms of the effect of the sentence, what is the effect of using simple sentences? And this is important when you're asked about the style in a comprehension text. You know, what sort of sentence structure is the writer using? How does this convey his or her message effectively? So when using simple sentences, typically the effect is very direct, it's very commanding, and it's very clear, because there's not much else going on. You're getting to the point quickly. So that's typically the effect of a simple sentence. And it can be quite effective if you think of like an advertisement, which has a lot of simple sentences. They're telling you what to do. They're giving you just the relevant information in a very clear, concise manner. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be concise, but it could work really well in that format. A compound sentence. A compound sentence has two or more finite verbs. So you see that trick of circling the finite verbs is going to be super effective, because you will see, okay, one finite verb, it has to be simple, two or more, then I have to consider, is it compound or is it complex? A compound sentence also has a coordinating conjunction, and the easiest way to remember these is fanboys, which stands for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. These are all your short conjunctions. There are a few subordinating conjunctions that are short, but these are your coordinating conjunctions are all short. And my advice here is when you see a conjunction, put a square around it. So circle your finite verbs, put a square around your conjunctions. And then the third point is sort of the thing that you can look for afterwards, is check, is it two main clauses? Remember, a main clause is a clause meaning that it has a finite verb, so it's a group of words with a finite verb that makes sense by itself. It can stand alone as a sentence. That's how you check whether something is a main clause. Also, another word for main clause, you can call it an independent clause, because it is independent, it can stand alone. So if you look at our example, soccer is a very exciting game and it is watched around the world. We have two finite verbs there, we have two main clauses, and it is joined together with a fanboys conjunction. The effect of a compound sentence is that it typically balances two equally important ideas. Often, compound sentences are where you see some comma splice errors, where people use commas instead of using the conjunction that they need to join two independent clauses, so look out for that. But it is more, it's conveying a more complicated idea often than a simple sentence, but they are two ideas of equal importance. And lastly, a complex sentence, sorry. Complex sentence is also two or more finite verbs, but now our conjunction is going to be a subordinating conjunction. And these are all the rest of the conjunctions. So because, if, however, although, and there are many others. Remember that subordinating conjunctions can actually start the sentence. And what's important here is that a complex sentence has one main clause and one or more subordinate clauses. A subordinate clause or a dependent clause cannot stand alone. It relies on the main clause in order for it to make sense. So if we look at our example over here, if Liverpool win the trophy, the team will be the best team in England. So you see here, if Liverpool win the trophy, that is your subordinate clause. It cannot stand alone. I can't just write that as a sentence and put a full stop. I have the if, which is starting the sentence, which is the subordinated conjunction. It doesn't always have to start the sentence, but it can. And then if you look at the second clause there, the team will be the best team in England. That actually makes sense by itself. That is the main clause in this example. A complex sentence, the effect of a complex sentence is that it conveys a complicated relationship, and this word relationship is important. It shows the relationship between two ideas, because do you see how each part of the sentence relies on each other in order for it to make sense? So complex is usually conveying a more complicated idea. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found it helpful. Please like, subscribe, and share this video.